How you doing, lovely people? It's a beautiful day, still by the beach, enjoying a bit of sea, bit of a bit of a seaside, and I wanted to address a very interesting topic: social conditioning versus social awareness, right? And specifically for this subject, negative social conditioning versus social awareness. Right, so the difference is this: conditioning is something that actually is a crystallized kind of pattern of behavior that lingers, that is in you, right? It's almost like that is the way things are, that is the way I do, and I cannot be any other way, right? Like, you pretty much, it'll be physically very difficult for most people to punch an old person or to throw a person in a wheelchair out of a wheelchair, okay? No matter how bad or comedic it can sound for some people, it is quite physically difficult for some people to actually do that. It's quite challenging. Now, on the other hand, other things that, and it's good, right? It's good. We don't want that to be quite possible, right? We don't want people to do that. So we condition our children from the moment they grow up not to do these kind of things, okay? Not to throw rocks in the windows. Still some do that, right? But majority don't, because it's pretty much physically difficult for people to do. And that is what social conditioning is. Well, social awareness in that case would be just like, well, yeah, I can't do that, but I'm not going to, because that is socially unacceptable. We as a society has agreed a moral code where we wouldn't do something like that. Okay? Now, it is quite common sense in that example. It's quite simple to understand, but when we get into detail to how there is so much social conditioning on us, and it comes from a variety of sources. Your parents would stop you from being violent, from wanting to murder people, from being bad to elderly, from breaking things, from stealing things. So it becomes physically difficult for you to do those things that are criminal, but in generally, they're actually quite damaging, and so society agrees that we shouldn't do that. Then there's also school, there's government, there are corporations, TV programs, and all sorts of mix of interests, national interests, countries, sort of international agents trying to affect you, trying to program the society, right? So if you look at, for example, United States, how there are rumors that there's Russian hackers hacking the elections by influencing people on social media. So there's all sorts of different sources of influence trying to impose their version of social conditioning on you. And it takes quite an aware person to actually understand that, and to actually be able to see those effects on him, to distinguish it, and then to let go of it, right? To let go of it so you're not affected by it anymore. Right? So there's all sorts of sources: your school, government, international agents, right? People who have your parents, people who have your best interests at heart, and some people who don't have your best interest at heart. Maybe it's just profit, maybe it's control, maybe it's manipulation, or maybe they want you to sabotage your own government, right? And I'm not there to comment specifically who's right or who's wrong in that case. That's for you to decide. Where I want to bring you to the place of you're free, okay? And you choose to act in a certain way out of social awareness. You're aware that something has to be done, and things have to be done in such and such way. You make those decisions, whether your government has to be overthrown or not, whether we have to keep foreign agents out of the country or not, whether there should be certain type of behavior in school, whether people should dress in a certain way or not, whether you should dress in a certain way or not. Again, I just want to bring you that freedom. And so social awareness gives you the power to see, what is acceptable and what is not in the society. And it could be as simple as, In some countries, it's okay to cross the road in any place. In some places, it's not okay to dress as if you're on the beach. And then on the beach, it's very much acceptable to dress as if you're on the beach. Okay? But that's very simple, and you're probably quite aware of all of those. But going into more complicated things, you can start seeing with your social awareness what social conditioning is influencing certain layers of society, certain people, maybe even your family and your friends. What social conditioning is having them behave in a way that is maybe not beneficial to themselves, maybe not in your interest. You're being aware of it, and that gives you an opportunity to sort of, let's say, with your skill, act in a lubricated way, or your actions would become more smooth. Okay, you will be smoother in your communication between different layers of society. A simple example is when you're speaking to a kid, you're like, "Oh, how you doing? Who's a good boy? Here's a candy," or whatever way people speak to kids, right? So you speak in a certain manner because you understand that, maybe you need to make a extra big smile so you don't seem too scary to a small child because you're a big adult. The same way you'd know that you speak a certain way to somebody who works in a corporation wearing a suit. You speak in a different way to somebody who wears rock clothes, somebody who's a musician, somebody who's an artist, somebody who's a student. And it just, the degree of depth differs. And the more you let go of social conditioning, the more social awareness you get. Because once you let go of something, you realize, shit, other people have it as well. And they're being controlled, not by themselves, but by something that's been imposed on them. And even if somebody had your best interest at heart, like your parents, it still might be affecting you in a way that is not benefiting you right now. And maybe even it did benefit you when you were born and growing up. Stranger danger, stay away from strangers, they're dangerous. Maybe that's a very reasonable thing to do, especially in certain societies and maybe third world countries, right? Where people kidnap children and do some weird stuff, right? So it's quite a good idea for you as a child to do that. But once you're an adult, the risk diminishes, right? You still have to be wary, right? You still have to have some ability to test and check people in some way for their safety. Yet you don't want to be completely paranoid, because this way you close off the experience of life, become socially anxious, and just unable to really enjoy being in society. For most of us, right? For most of us who don't want to live sheltered lives, right? And there's this common is basically a dilemma inside of you. You want to be super safe. You want to have as much money as possible. Ideally, enough money for you to live for the rest of your life. You want to be surrounded only by people who agree with you, and sort of share your views politically, economically, and whatever else. So you kind of build walls around yourself, and then you realize, shit, life kind of sucks like that. So then you kind of break them, and then you start breaking them, and maybe because you've been building them so long, so thick, and so well, you became so good at it, like a good architect or civil engineer, it actually becomes quite difficult to destroy them, because you haven't learned how to do that. You haven't learned how to break boundaries, how to expand your comfort zone, how to stretch what's considered normal for you. And so to understand that, to get awareness of that, is already a massive breakthrough. And I say this, if maybe 10-20% of population just became aware of those things and actually lived it as an experience, not just like, oh yeah, I heard that smart intellectual thought from this philosopher. No, you actually live it. You actually bring that experientially into your life, right? Don't live intellectually, live experientially. That is life. And so becoming aware of that let's say paradox we can say, paradox in your life, where one part once strives for safety and another strives for constant expansion, we figure out how to do. Well, here I know that, and I can see that most people already quite good with safety, right? And if you're in a situation where, I don't know, you're struggling and you need to eat tomorrow and everybody's violent against you, then yeah, okay, keep building up your walls. Maybe you need more of them, but for most people, it's actually the practice of breaking them down that's going to elevate their life to the next level. And so, becoming aware of social conditioning that you have accumulated over the years is the way forward in this field, right? And switching from being socially conditioned to socially aware. You're just cruising. You're walking on clouds, and you see things, and you see patterns, and you see how people behave. And one of the most common, one of the most silly things I see, very common, is people being very anxious. They learn how to stay composed when having that feeling inside of them, when threatened with big anxiety. They learn how to stay very composed and act cool, right? Act cool, like they don't care. Meh, I wasn't really interested. Nah, yeah, whatever. Yeah, cool. I'm cool. Man, whatever. Yeah, kind of thing. Just acting disinterested, having a very blank face. I do that face when I literally don't want anyone to even make eye contact with me, because when I'm like that, or even looking slightly angry, people just look away, right? So we kind of embody this behavior as normal, and then just keep living like that. And that is one of the things we kind of tap ourselves into. The effects of negative social conditioning, pretty much all conditioning is negative, right? As I said, it's awareness that will give you freedom, and conditioning doesn't give you freedom. You're a robot. You become a robot. And as I said, maybe on mass society it works really well, but I'm here to liberate you one by one. So a lot of people can't shout in a public place, and it's inappropriate. But what it does to their vocal cords is it actually restricts them so much that when there's a need for them to be loud and maybe to kind of raise their voice just enough that they're heard, the vocal cords clamp. So it's a psychosomatic effect, and they don't have control over their vocal cords. When there's a requirement or a desire to maybe go up to somebody and say hi and speak to them, the body doesn't move, the legs become heavy, the muscles stop working as well as normal, right? Like the way I'm walking right now, they won't be able to do that. Psychosomatic effects of those. The same with the body. And then even going further into romantic relationships, it actually transfers to to their genitalia, and this is one of the reasons there is so much, let's say politely, broken tools or badly working tools in men in current society. And that is not, there are effects obviously of lower testosterone and BPA and plastic, but it's mainly psychological, it's mainly psychosomatic, and it's mainly caused by social conditioning. We cannot be this way. I cannot feel that right now. It's not normal. It's not okay for me to be feeling this way towards that person or this or that. And then it becomes a torture chamber in your mind, and grows into all sorts of unpleasant and ugly health ailments. Just want to share with you real quick where I'm walking around and what I'm seeing, and it's quite nice, quite lovely, pretty. And so what am I encouraging you in this short-ish video is to embark on a journey of self-discovery and breaking the walls down. Breaking the walls down, if you can hear the echo. Breaking these kind of walls down but only the ones you've built, breaking them down, and becoming truly free and independent as a human being, as a man, as a woman, as anyone else who you like to be, who you identify as.
My friend, be careful with broken glasses.
Thanks so much. Thank you. He said that because I have bare foot, and he said this is broken glass. But you know, we're gonna wing it. We're gonna wing it for the moment. So start looking into that and start seeing where are you not truly free. Where is your body not listening to you and does not restricts you from living fully. Does not allow you to have full self-control, right? Because at least that's one thing that we want as human beings is full self-control. Start looking into those, start journaling.
That's it. Nice shoes.
Thanks so much, buddy. Right. Accept compliments about your feet. And yeah, start looking into those. Start building that awareness, reduce conditioning, and this is what is going to give you that freedom, that charisma, that feeling of being relaxed, that peace in your chest and your stomach, the lack of tension, that is full relaxation, right? That a lot of people don't know what it feels, how to be fully relaxed. A lack of tension, feeling of full relaxation, feeling of peace and tranquility, and just ability to enjoy life for what it is. Ability to enjoy simple things in life, just like, you know, clear sky, sun, sunshine, sea breeze, beach, mountain, or a lovely little old town, and just chill, simple evening vibes. And that is it for today. I'm going to leave you with that. Have a lovely day, week, month, rest of the year, and a lovely life. Take care.